I have a question for you all. Do you want to be part of the elite or do you want to be part of the masses? Because if you don't want to be part of the elite, this video is not for you, so feel free to skip it. Let's not waste anyone's time, all right? This is for serious people. The masses, they don't matter. Yes, they do matter. They do matter, but when they matter, it's when society breaks down. Do you think you can gather a crowd, a mass, and then make them build something? Or do you need two people or one person or something with an idea and then people who would be willing to sit in their mother's basement and work and code and structure and then people who join step by step by step? Is that how you build something? Or do you gather a crowd and then you can like, okay, let's all create a startup. Let's change the world. Does it work? No. Masses don't matter. Those who take action matter. Step up. And I don't want people that don't want to be part of the elite to be here. I'm gonna expose all the Jewish secrets that make us those who rule the world. Until the Qataris came, of course, and spent money everywhere. That works better than trying to convince people to tap into their better selves. So for people who are not afraid of hearing, hey, sometimes something requires work, like being a part of the elite, and do not expect people to come and bribe them for that. Stay here. Let's talk. What inspired this video is first and foremost my Druze friends that came out with a very interesting confession at some point when they talked about all the efforts they are investing in helping the Druze in Sweden. At some point, they looked at each other and they said, oh, we've been Jewified. We're not like the other Druze are. We're different. And they are. And I'm going to explain what do they mean by that in a second. The other thing that inspired this video and why I chose the approach of being part of the masses versus being part of the elite is this segment from PBD podcast where he brought Andrew Bustamante, who is an ex-spy that worked in the CIA. Now, watch this.
Online is the masses have no authority. Well, what I'm concerned about is how do Western leaders treat them?
How do that, Rob?
Yeah. The masses don't matter. And if the masses think they matter, that's why they're the masses. Israel understands.
Online influencers, YouTubers, podcasters.
We can talk. And people can carry our voice, but what can we do to affect policy, man? Not a thing. Affecting policy isn't profitable either. So that's why YouTube can turn us off if they don't like what we have to say, right? Facebook can quiet you if they don't like what you have to say. So what power do we really have, right? We have to avoid certain keywords so that we don't get canceled by the organization, not by the internet.
Now, my initial reaction was, if the masses don't matter, why am I doing what I'm doing? Editing Rebecca here, and I think it's super important that I would actually tell you what the structure of the video is now. Something that I didn't do here. First, I have this axiom where I assumed Jews are the elite, and we brainwash others, but not in the same way that Qataris do. The way we work, the way Jews work, we sell our vision on how every person should be in the world. And because it's our vision, every Jew is trained to operate that way. Meaning, we have a built-in structure in the religion that turns everybody to the elite. Now, when I say the elite here, people think about, I don't know, those who control the world, blah, 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 government. There are a million problems in the world, and they all require someone to step in and take action. Jews are trained to do that. Yes. Why do you think there are so many Nobel Prizes that Jews get?
Jews are typically raised with good foundation and good principles and want to learn and want to be educated and want to make money.
The main difference is that Qataris, when they spread their propaganda around the world, they're creating soldiers. They're not generating more elites. And the Jews, no, they sell that idea that we all can be elites because we all were created in the image of God and we all have our contribution that is uniquely ours to make in the world. Yes, Jews are weird like that. And then my secondary reaction was, did I forget what I'm here for? Because my goal was not to convince the masses. My goal was never to be the a shock face on the thumbnail and then do a reaction video to someone who is popular in order to get clicks. No, and I never tried to simplify my content because I was looking for you guys, those who have potential to be an elite. But then reality hit and I realized how much the gap is there. First, I thought, it must not be too hard. Jews controlled Hollywood, they created this narrative, and I thought maybe that would have seeped into the society in general, and that would mean that people would understand what they need to do in order to make the world better. But it didn't seep in deeply enough. Hollywood is Chinese now. The self-loving Jews were chased away, and only the self-loathing Jews were allowed to stay. So yeah, that endeavor went down the drain.
I think people need to realize that they ought to do something in different areas, but also realize that they can do something, that it is possible to do something. I start my course, one of the first things I quote is a sentence from the Talmud that every Jewish child learns and internalizes. In a place where there are no men, strive to be a man. When no one steps up, be the one who does. We've heard a lot this week as we're here in Israel, be the change that you want the world to be, and we've heard some great expressions of that kind of idea that it starts with you, that responsibility, and it's fantastic. Okay, before I dive deeper into the cultural segment, let me drive in this point even further, drill it down. All right, so this is something I call the Jew effect, and let me tell you some anecdotes, some stories just to make this point clear, all right? So I talked about the Druze. There was a story that I heard of Dr. Amira Kara, and she was in a podcast with the Khalifa and Mansour. It's in Hebrew. They promised they're going to do it in English. And here's the point, okay? The hospital in Sweden lost everything. So Amira Kara, she's a Druze doctor in Israel. She was waiting, and she realized that nobody's doing anything. So she opened a war room to make sure that the Sweden hospital would go back to function. People joined her to help. Donations started coming from Druze outside of Israel, outside of the Middle East. And guess what? The Ministry of Health of Israel was very, very happy to cooperate and gave everything they could have to help the operation. Same with the army. The only thing that was missing is somebody who would sit down, organize the operation, understand what needs to be done, and give the command. She was the person. Another story. This is a fun one, okay? It doesn't have to be such a groundbreaking operational things. I'm gonna give you an example of two businessmen. One businessman that is a self-made millionaire grew up in Qataris in Georgia. Not to a rich family, not in a first world country, but actually in a country that is not at all rich, in Qataris, which is not even the capital, and he's a self-made millionaire. And people around him, to this day, make fun of him for being Jewish. He's not Jewish, he's Georgian. But when they make fun of him and say, "You're like a Jew," he says, "Yes, I grew up with Jews, and I learned something from them." And now he's a millionaire. Another person with a similar story, Elon Musk. That's him.
I grew up around a lot of Jewish people. I went to Hebrew preschool, Rachel Spiro in South Africa. My name is very Jewish. I went to Israel when I was 13. Like you said, most of my friends are Jewish, just worked out that way. Yeah, I guess maybe I forget. Am I Jewish?
Louis Armstrong, the jazz musician, his poor Jewish neighbors, they decided to believe in this random child and gave him an opportunity. And ever since, he's been bearing a Star of David. And there are plenty of stories like that. You can claim that those examples are anecdotal and they don't prove anything, but I'm going to prove it to you mathematically.
Many times this week that we've been here, I've said to our Jewish friends, I've said, I don't think you realize how far things have gone in our world. so to speak, our non-Jewish world, because there's so many things that you talk about. We're meeting all these people who have this really strong sense of responsibility, service, respect for older people. They're polite to us. That's unusual. But they don't. I don't think people realise none of those values. I mean, there's so much of that. There was a survey in the UK about whether people would be prepared to die for their country, and the survey came back and most people wouldn't, across the board. And I was really surprised because my younger son referred to this survey, and I was not expecting this at all. And he said that he and his friend had been talking about it and said they would die for their country, and that is really unusual. And possibly, maybe there's the hope is I've heard this a couple of times this week as well about the youth that sort of responded after October the 7th and joined up and everything, and everyone was worried that the youth were lost, but then this youth sort of rose up, our young lions rose up, I think people have been saying. So yeah, I was surprised when my youngest said that, and maybe there is more going on. Just we need to be not afraid to demand more of each other, I think. Probably the number one value we need is courage at the moment, people being brave, prepared to step up.
Now we're going to deep dive into the idea of where there is no person, be the person. And I started with something very simple. Luckily, we live in the age of AI, where I don't need to go and check every idiom in every language to find if there's any parallels. I honestly, just naively, I'm not naively, at this point I knew that there's probably not going to be any parallel. Yes, there is no parallel. Did it surprise you that your son said he's going to die for your country? Because you never talked about it? Or because you never talked about personal responsibility with him?
It's not so much we don't talk about it, although that's true, that's part of the problem. It's also not present in British culture. So what that means is that in British culture you sound a bit corny.
Really?
Whereas here...
Can you believe it? How different we are? And I'm trying to explain it to Israelis and Jews. You don't understand. Things that you take for granted, they don't exist. For further information, go to my Substack and read about the music theory. So I started simply. What is the English parallel of במקום שאין אנשים משתדל להיות איש? Great line, ChatGPT said. Common English rendering is, in a place where there is no man, strive to be a man. It's from Hillel, Pirkei Avot 2:6. Amazing. Close English parallel. Listen, this is a close English parallel. If not you, who? Are you joking here, ChatGPT? If not you, who?
عبراني في كلمة بيقولوا إم لو أنا لي ميلي إذا أنا مش لنفسي مين راح يكون لي يعني.
Did it rise in some book that was written by English that has nothing to do with the if not you, who? That is written in the Talmud. ChatGPT. Try being serious here. I'm asking for an English parallel, not a Jewish parallel. I know that there are more Jewish idioms that say the same thing. The other example it gave, it's be the change you wish to see in the world. It's not the same thing. Be the change you want to see in the world. You want everybody to be peaceful, so you're going to be peaceful. You think it's going to help you to protect anything? Trash. That's not the same. So it thought for 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Oh, yes. Non-Jewish parallels. Here are some strong matches. And he brought things from all over the world. But they don't tell you, hey, take charge. Some of them say, be the person that you think people should be. And there is a Chinese proverb, better to light a single candle than to curse the darkness. Too poetic, though. Act as if what you do makes a difference. It does, they said, William James. Again, I don't know, I'm stupid. I need, clear instructions. Okay, so I asked ChatGPT, do those really mean the same thing? And it was like, it thought for another 42 seconds and then said, some are spot on, some are only neighbors. So, cometh the hour, cometh the man. Who is the someone? Who? They throw balls, but they don't say who should catch it. So he thought for another minute and 4 seconds. Okay. So how about this one? So this is Edmund Brooke, 1770. When bad men combine, the good must associate, else they will fall one by one. Beautiful, beautiful. But here's what is a good man? If you are not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Elbridge Cleaver. Guess what? You can steal it. Jews are not that stinky about cultural appropriation. And you have my explicit permission to steal our idioms and proverbs, but understand them as well. Let me quickly explain what Reform Jews do. What they do is that they take sentences that are originally in Hebrew, and the way they translate it or the way they explain it is in a palatable way for the audience that they're with. So here the sentence is, in a place where there is no man, strive to be a man. How would they translate it? Something similar to this Marcus Aurelius saying, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. Just be a good person. The version that says be a better person is something that is palatable because it appears in English and different cultures. But the version that Hebrew gives with its original meaning explains how you move from being part of the masses to being part of the elites. This is why Jews are different. Okay. Let's dive into the full sentence here. אין בו ירחת ולא עם הארץ חסיד ולא הביישן למד ולא הקפדן מלמד ולא כל המרבה בסחורה מחכים. במקום שאין אנשים משתדל להיות איש. And I'm going to translate it because I want it to be as simple as possible and as relevant as possible, and not like the extra layers of many different interpretations that could be applied here. Bo is somebody that is uneducated, but like severely so. So somebody like that is a person that doesn't understand the consequences of their actions. So they are not afraid of sin. So when it says here, and bu yarechet, the first sentence says that those who don't know what they're doing, they are not afraid of their sin. Those are those who march through the streets, calling for causes they don't understand. They are not afraid of the consequence of their actions because they are uneducated to that degree. And then the second thing is, velo am haaretz chasid, that's the most complicated one to explain, but basically it says the common man, they cannot bring people to do the right thing because they didn't see how it's done. And the common people, right, one of the biggest things they don't have is access to elite thinking. It's not so easy even today. So that's something that needs to be overcome. If you're a parent, that could even be asking to join your school's administration meeting with the government. And that breaks amazingly. Listen closely, because the next sentence says, Velo habayshan lamed. The shy does not learn, right? So I gave you a solution to the first problem. What if you are part of the common people, so you don't see what needs to be seen before you take action? And I gave you an option that is available to most of you. And then it says, the shy doesn't learn. Velo hakapdan melamed. Perfectionists cannot teach. Not everything aligns perfectly with your understanding of the world. You need to be flexible in that sense. You cannot be a perfectionist and too principled yourself if you want to bring something to the table. And then the next sentence is a warning. Velo kol hamarbe beschora machkir. Not every person that is deep into business, that has a lot of business, have the time or the ability to make a real impact. What does it mean? You are somebody who understands that actions have consequences. You're a person who watched and understood how things work because you weren't shy. You asked questions. You were listening. You were learning. You're not a perfectionist. You're flexible. And you understand that those that have the means don't always have the time, but it doesn't mean that they don't have the will to help. Then you step up. So the health ministry has the means. It's the business that could help you, but it couldn't be the leader in Amira's endeavors because it didn't have the time. but it was more than willing to give. Same with the IDF. Same with the Druze outside of the Middle East. They didn't have the way or the ability to lead the operation, but they had the means. And when somebody stepped up and they understood and did all those steps, they changed the world. Easy peasy, right? How many here had spent time with elites? Have you ever spent time in an elite circle? You know, I had the honor to be there. And one of the things that struck me the most is that it looks ridiculous. It looks weird. They're weird. You know why? Because they throw ideas into the air. And no matter how idiotic and how preposterous and how, like, what the heck, what are you on kind of the idea they throw into the air, people around them are like, yes, interesting. Yes, good idea. Maybe this, like, they never say, no, that's a stupid idea, like we do to each other. This is what the masses do, right? You go to your friend, you're like, you know, I feel like we should bring back some of church values back to the educational system. And then they would look at you like you're crazy. And now the elites, they really bring stupid ideas that they cannot do. Really, when I say that it's ridiculous, I mean it. Like, no amount of power or anything really justifies them thinking that those ideas make sense. And of course, they ditch them 5 minutes later after they think through it, and then they throw around more ideas. It's called brainstorming, associative thinking. Groundbreaking, I know. But people don't say no to each other. They say yes. Let's try. Because the yes forces you to think further and make your idea better. So the elite spaces are kind of weird. So they have each other backs as well, support each other dreams. And then if they can tap in and be like, you know, I know someone, then they would introduce you to that someone. And so that what would happen is that your circle of people gets larger and larger. And you might actually find the people that make the difference and allow you to make a difference. But what happens when those who belong to the masses do the same? They are too embarrassed to introduce to their friends, to their other friends, because they think, oh my God, that's embarrassing. Like, what are they going to think of me if I bring them someone like that? Or vice versa, right? It's like, I don't know. They don't try. They care so much about their reputation and what people would think about them. And that they wouldn't even give you a contact number of somebody that might help. Who cares? It's crazy. The elites do that. They help each other like that. So I expect all of you, because you are elites, all right? Everybody who's watching these videos, I know they're smart. You don't know anything about each other. Join the Telegram group, join the Discord group. Think about the ways you want to change things and find each other. Maybe you'd find people that you'd be surprised what kind of path you'd find. But of course, the other thing is that most people, the masses, they have no mission, right? I talked about it in my video when I talked about 5 mistakes that every operator makes that kill a mission. But most people don't even have a mission. Then how can they even make a mistake? They still make those mistakes even without having a mission, which is incredible. But people don't have a mission.
You don't have to be a Jew or Israeli to stand with us. All you need to is to be against terror, believe in democratic values, care enough about the future of this country, and you'll be more than welcome to stand with us and spread the message. We need more people standing up.
In conclusion, you don't have to be a Jew or Israeli to stand with the UK and England.
No.
You can be even a Brit. So the way Jews operate around the world is that we bring people to the elite, right? So we believe in upward mobility, and we're not looking for masses or slaves. And in fact, we're not good at doing that. We're not.
So do you think the level of criticism Israel's been getting the last 2 years, people don't know the full story of the role they play that's positive for the world?
100%.
Really?
100%. It's 100%
I
true.
would have not guessed you would have said that.
So I am a staunch supporter of Israel's importance to the United States.
Holy shit. Tell me
Absolutely. Because they are the first wall of fucking defense for us.
A lot of people, they're looking for slaves. Jews don't work this way, all right? We are an elite that expands by generating more elites.
Like, let's just say it's Russia or Iran, and somebody reaches out, right? And China, somebody reaches out. What do we give in return for them to give intel?
So you're talking about
So the Russia ad, right? The Russia ad that you have, and it tells the story. It's very emotional, by the way. Remember back in the days when your father and he went through this, and now you have this. Do it for your country, like these China ads, these Russia ads that they do. Okay, so I want to give intel. What is that Iranian, that Russian, that Chinese person that's sick of their own country? What do they get in return?
This is a lot like our conversation about why would an American support CIA. A huge chunk of their motivation is that they believe they're doing the right thing. They'll take the risk, believing they're doing the right thing. Now, America never wants that. You always want to have leverage. So we try to find a leverage point. Is that leverage point money? Is that leverage point, medicine? Is that leverage point a visa to get your family out of the country? We look at all of those options, but we have to give something right away. One of the reasons I really don't like Bitcoin is because Bitcoin has become the currency of choice for espionage around the world.
You can look, for example, at Mossab Hassan Youssef.
So in the first encounter with the Israeli intelligence, I told them the whole truth. And every meeting, they were just building me up. I was so broken.
Building you up in what way?
Building me up in education, conversation, open conversation about who they are, what they do. And they gave me enough money, exact amount that pays for my school.
Mm-hmm.
And when I needed to do anything financial, they said, not possible. We cannot give you any amount of money, because if we give you money and you cannot prove where you got this money from, they will kill you. So I said, you only go to school. Oh, what's my mission? There is no mission. There was no gun. There is no go spy.
What school did you go? So did you go back to high school?
I went back to the high school. I graduated from high school, but also they wanted me to go to college, and I graduated 4 years college. And during that entire time, they funded my education and my education only.
And there was no other deal than that?
Was no other deal.
Why did they do that?
Because this is how they work. And this is how the Israeli intelligence work. They say, from the beginning, they said, listen, we don't work with losers. It doesn't matter. Like, the fact that you are son of a Hamas leader does not qualify you. You must be like us. You need to think like us, and you need to be a part of your society, and you need to be productive. You cannot be a loser.
When you're a respectable person, that's when we work with you. When you have independent thought, and when you're elite, we work as equals. We don't work as a master-slave.
How often do you read the Bible?
I've been reading Proverbs this week.
The reason I asked that, because I know Vinny's been reading it. I know Tom has been reading it. I had that epiphany. I was like, people that study the Torah turn out to be, for the most part, way more learned and scholarly and have way more principles. People that read the Bible, in my opinion, become way more righteous and virtuous. On another note, people that read the Quran and read it literally become way more radical and extremist and practice jihad. That's just my opinion.
So I started my course, Understanding Humanity, trying to gather those who could be an elite. This is why my next version of this course is going to be a lot more vigorous and a lot more one-on-one work, and your mission would be stated so that you would become part of the elite. I want to add here, for those who are interested in my course, that it starts on September 20th, so you can still sign up. This video wasn't meant to be like an ad for my course, but this is one way you can learn how to do that. And maybe, get infected by Jewishness and Jewish thinking, hopefully to encourage you to step up and take action. And we can even dive deeper into other idioms and the other approaches that different cultures had suggested for the same problem. And yet, when it comes to being agents that act, I think there is no competition. They just know what they're doing when it comes to being agents, chaos agents, or order agents, or just revolutionary in many different ways. That is constructive, right? They offer most of the time solutions because they are the elite. They're not the masses. They're here not to destroy, but to build. And you guys are the elite, because those who are not, I hope they stopped watching in the beginning. All right, thank you so much for being here. Like, comment, subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, please consider supporting this channel by going to Buy Me Coffee or PayPal or Patreon or even a super thanks, button here. This is what keeps me going. Of course, consider signing up to the course and share it. Share it with your family, friends. Thank you for watching. See you later.